The Splinter Cell series is a collection of stealth-based video games developed and published by Ubisoft, inspired by the works of Tom Clancy. The protagonist is Sam Fisher, an exceptionally skilled operative working in a fictional branch of the National Security Agency, NSA, called the Third Echelon, later Fourth Echelon. The games are well known for their stealth mechanics, espionage themes, and innovative multiplayer modes. Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell 2002. The game begins in late 2004, with two CIA agents disappearing in Tbilisi, Georgia. Sam Fisher is sent to investigate. He discovers that one of the agents had been killed by the Georgian president, Kombain Nikoladze, who is also involved in a conspiracy with the Russian mafia. Fisher learns that Nikoladze was able to conduct a massacre in Azerbaijan and erase all the evidence using a sophisticated computer algorithm known as the Ark. Fisher retrieves the Ark and escapes Georgia, and Nikoladze goes into hiding. With Nikoladze on the run, Third Echelon discovers that the Georgian president has launched a cyber attack on the U.S., crippling the country's infrastructure. Fisher is sent to the CIA headquarters to figure out how the Georgians infiltrated their systems. Fisher uncovers a mole in the CIA, Mitchell Doherty, who was unknowingly stealing information for the Georgians by using an infected laptop. Fisher captures Doherty, and the NSA begins tracking down Nikoladze. Following a lead, Fisher heads to the Chinese embassy in Myanmar, where he believes Nikoladze is hiding. Fisher's mission is complicated by the political sensitivity of the situation, and he is ordered not to be detected or harm any of the Chinese personnel. Fisher gathers evidence that Nikoladze is indeed hiding in the embassy, but before Third Echelon can act, the embassy is attacked by Georgian forces attempting to kill Nikoladze. In the chaos, Fisher manages to rescue Nikoladze and learn about a weapon called the Ark. The Ark turns out to be a nuclear device hidden in the United States. Nikoladze plans to detonate it as a retaliation for U.S. involvement in Georgian affairs. Fisher is deployed to the Georgian presidential palace, where he confronts and kills Nikoladze and disarms the weapon, thus preventing a nuclear disaster. This game set the stage for the Splinter Cell series and introduced players to the world of Sam Fisher and Third Echelon. The game was praised for its emphasis on stealth over direct combat and its dark, mature storytelling. Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell, Pandora Tomorrow, 2004, the second game in the series, continues the story of Sam Fisher, an elite agent working for a secret division of the National Security Agency, NSA, called Third Echelon. This game sees Fisher take on international terrorists with a deadly plot. The game begins in 2006 when Sam Fisher is sent to East Timor to investigate an Indonesian guerrilla militia leader, Suhadi Sadono, who is attacking and occupying the U.S. Embassy in Dili. Sadono, the leader of the Dara Dandoa, Blood and Prayer, is not only a charismatic leader and a symbol of independence for his people, but also a microbiologist who's orchestrated the attack on the embassy to capture and interrogate a scientist who can weaponize smallpox. While Fisher successfully extracts the U.S. military personnel from the embassy, Sadono escapes with the information he wanted and initiates Pandora Tomorrow, a backup plan where the smallpox virus, now called the ND-133, would be released on American soil if Sadono is killed or captured. The virus is put into the care of sleeper agents across the United States, and each day Sadono must make a live broadcast to delay the release of the virus, essentially making him unkillable. Fisher must find the ND-133 devices and neutralize them without directly dealing with Sadono. Fisher's mission takes him from the jungles of Indonesia to the streets of Jerusalem and finally to Los Angeles International Airport, LAX, where he must prevent one of the smallpox devices from detonating. In the end, Fisher manages to capture Sadono alive, enabling Third Echelon to interrogate him and get the locations of all the ND-133 devices in the United States, effectively neutralizing the threat of Pandora Tomorrow. As with the first game, Splinter Cell, Pandora Tomorrow was praised for its intense stealth gameplay, its gripping plot, and the addition of the multiplayer Spies vs. Mercs mode. Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell, Chaos Theory, 2005, the third installment in the series, takes Sam Fisher on a journey to prevent a war that could engulf the entire Asian continent and potentially the world. The game begins in 2007, with rising tensions between China, North Korea, South Korea, and Japan, caused by Japan's formation of an Information Self-Defense Force, ISDF. The ISDF is deemed a violation of international law and Japan's post-World War II constitution, but Japan claims it's necessary for its self-defense. Sam Fisher is initially sent to investigate the suspicious blackout of a lighthouse on the Talara, Peru coastline and the disappearance of Bruce Morgenholt, an American computer scientist knowledgeable in algorithms capable of cracking electrical systems. Fisher discovers that a Peruvian separatist group has kidnapped Morgenholt and has been using his knowledge to instigate blackouts. Tragically, Morgenholt dies during the rescue attempt. Meanwhile, escalating tensions in the Korean peninsula and allegations of Japan's misuse of the Massey kernels, an algorithm capable of hacking any computer or electronic system, to disable Chinese North Korean forces lead to the outbreak of a major war. Evidence implicates a notorious and thought-to-be-dead arms dealer named Douglas Shetland in the misuse of the Massey kernels. Fisher's investigation takes him to multiple locations, including a bank in Panama, a warship in the Yellow Sea, and a bathhouse in Tokyo. Fisher eventually discovers that his former comrade and friend, Douglas Shetland, now CEO of Displace International, a private military company, is behind the events. Shetland is trying to escalate the war between the Koreas, China, and Japan for his own profit. The climax takes Fisher to Hokkaido, Japan, where he confronts Shetland and is forced to kill him. However, the crisis isn't over. Fisher learns that a missile-carrying drone submarine has been taken over by a rogue North Korean general using the Massey kernels. The general plans to launch a missile at Japan, which would escalate the war even further. In the final mission, Fisher boards the submarine and manages to disable it, averting a major war. He is then extracted with the threat neutralized, but at the cost of his old friend's life. Chaos Theory was praised for its refined gameplay mechanics, improved graphics, engrossing storyline, and multiplayer modes. The game's focus on player choice and multiple paths to complete objectives was particularly appreciated. Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell Essentials was released in 2006 as a PlayStation Portable exclusive. The game takes place after the events of Splinter Cell, Double Agent, but it also contains flashbacks and references to earlier events in the series, providing additional context and backstory for Sam Fisher. The game starts with Sam Fisher visiting his daughter Sarah's grave, who was killed by a drunk driver in Splinter Cell, Double Agent. Fisher is arrested at the gravesite by the police and is taken into custody. While in custody, Fisher reflects on past missions, which serves as the basis for the game's levels. These missions span the course of Fisher's career, including a previously unseen mission set in Colombia in 1992, a mission in the Yugoslav Wars in 1999, and a mission set in Peru, immediately following the events of the original Splinter Cell game. Additionally, the game includes missions that reiterate key events from Splinter Cell, Pandora Tomorrow, and Splinter Cell, Chaos Theory. These levels offer an alternative perspective on those events, sometimes showing them from different angles or adding new objectives. In between these flashback missions, the game returns to the present day, where Fisher escapes from his cell and fights his way out of the police station. The final mission of the game is set in New Orleans in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. In this mission, Fisher has to stop a terrorist plot to detonate a chemical bomb. After successfully stopping the plot, Fisher escapes into the night, effectively becoming a fugitive. It's important to note that Essentials is a spin-off title, and not all of the events it describes are considered canon within the broader Splinter Cell storyline. The game received mixed reviews, with some criticism directed at the controls and graphics, but it was generally appreciated by fans of the series for its exploration of Sam Fisher's backstory. Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell, Double Agent 2006, the fourth main game in the series, places protagonist Sam Fisher in a morally complex situation. The game was released in two versions, one for the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and PC, version 1, and another for the PlayStation 2, Xbox, and GameCube, version 2. Both versions have similar yet distinct plots. For the purpose of this summary, I'll stick to version 1, which is more commonly referred to. The game begins with Fisher and his partner John Hodge infiltrating a base in Iceland to investigate a project named Icelandic Freedom. However, the mission goes wrong, leading to Hodge's death and Fisher barely escaping. Upon returning, Fisher learns that his daughter Sarah has been killed by a drunk driver. Devastated, Fisher is given a new mission to infiltrate a domestic terror organization known as John Brown's Army, JBA, led by Emile Dufresne. The goal is to gain their trust and prevent any potential terrorist attacks they plan. The game's core mechanic revolves around Fisher maintaining his cover with the JBA while also completing objectives for the NSA. This double agent role puts Fisher in a tough spot as he must make decisions that may compromise his loyalty to the NSA or risk blowing his cover with the JBA. Fisher participates in multiple missions for the JBA, including sinking a cruise ship and stealing radioactive material, all the while gathering information for the NSA. Fisher eventually learns that Dufresne plans to detonate a series of nuclear bombs within major U.S. cities to create chaos and start a new world order. In the climax, Fisher is given orders to kill Hisham Hamza, an NSA mole in the JBA whose cover has been blown. The player's choice here impacts the game's ending. Regardless, Fisher proceeds to infiltrate the JBA headquarters in New York to prevent the nuclear attack. Depending on the player's choices throughout the game, Fisher either successfully stops the attack and saves millions of lives, or is unable to prevent the disaster. The game ends with Fisher's fate left uncertain, setting the stage for the next game in the series, Splinter Cell, Conviction. Splinter Cell, Double Agent was praised for its moral complexity and the introduction of choices that could impact the game's ending, but it also received some criticism for its departure from the series' traditional stealth-focused gameplay. In Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell, Conviction, 2010, the fifth installment in the series, we see a drastic change in both the game's style and its protagonist, Sam Fisher. The game starts with Sam Fisher in Malta, having left Third Echelon after the events of Double Agent and the death of his daughter, Sarah. He's now on a personal mission to find the truth about his daughter's death. He's contacted by a former colleague, Anna Grimsdottir, who tells him that his daughter's death wasn't an accident, but a murder ordered by Third Echelon's director, Tom Reed. She also informs Sam that she's working with President Caldwell to expose a mole inside Third Echelon who's working for a group known as Megiddo. During the course of his investigation, Sam learns that his former friend and Third Echelon colleague, Irving Lambert, had staged Sarah's death to protect her from a threat from within Third Echelon. Sarah is actually alive. After reuniting with his daughter, Sam decides to take down the corrupt elements within Third Echelon. His journey leads him to Washington, D.C., where he uncovers a plot by Reed and Vice President Calvin Sampson, controlled by Megiddo, to assassinate President Caldwell and take over the government. Reed intends to frame Sam for the assassination. In the climax at the White House, Sam stops the assassination and confronts Reed. It's revealed that Reed and Sampson orchestrated the events to place the United States under martial law and seize control. Sam manages to kill Reed, while Grim kills Sampson to prevent him from shooting Sam. President Caldwell, grateful to Sam and Grim, disbands Third Echelon and orders the formation of a new agency, Fourth Echelon, to replace it. Sam initially declines the offer to join, deciding to spend some time with Sarah, who is now safe. Splinter Cell. Conviction represents a significant departure from the series' traditional stealth mechanics, introducing a more action-oriented gameplay style. The game was generally well received, with praise for its narrative, pacing, and the new mark and execute mechanic, which allows Sam to mark targets and take them out in rapid succession. Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell, Blacklist, 2013, the sixth main installment in the series, sees Sam Fisher returning to combat a new global threat. The game begins with a terrorist group known as the Engineers launching an attack on Andersen Air Force Base in Guam. The group then delivers an ultimatum, the Blacklist, a series of escalating terrorist attacks on U.S. interests, unless the U.S. withdraws its troops stationed abroad. Following the attack, President Caldwell assigns Sam Fisher the command of the newly formed Fourth Echelon, a team that operates from a flying aircraft called the Paladin. Fisher's team includes Anna Grimsdottir, his trusted ally, Charlie Cole, a young computer specialist, and Isaac Briggs, a CIA operative. Fisher's mission is to hunt down the Engineers and halt the Blacklist countdown. His journey takes him to various locations around the globe, including the Middle East, South America, and the U.S.-Mexico border. As the team gets closer to stopping the Engineers, they learn that the group is led by Majid Sadiq, a former MI6 agent. Sadiq aims to force the U.S. military to withdraw its troops stationed abroad, believing their presence fuels conflict and terrorism. The climax of the game sees Sadiq attacking the Paladin and capturing Briggs, intending to use him to start a war by triggering a powerful American warhead. Sadiq plans to publicly display the U.S.'s vulnerability by live-streaming the detonation to his followers. Fisher, racing against the clock, manages to infiltrate the base where Sadiq is broadcasting. He rescues Briggs and shuts down the missile launch before it can cause any harm. Fisher captures Sadiq, ensuring he stands trial for his crimes, which helps maintain the stability of the world's political landscape. After these events, Sam accepts President Caldwell's offer to continue leading the Fourth Echelon, fighting to protect the U.S. from threats in the shadows. Splinter Cell. Blacklist was appreciated for its gameplay, blending the action-oriented approach of Conviction and the traditional stealth mechanics of the earlier games. Its narrative was also praised for providing a more personal look at Sam Fisher and his team.